Hey, this is Matt. Once again, what about in the video? And this is a paid request for David. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commenters, reviews, what have you, I'll try to get to them as soon as I can. PayPal is usually the best bet, or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for a zombie with an X, dead on arrival. And I didn't know what this was. It's on YouTube. There is a playlist. It's about 8 or so chapters. I guess a guy named James Farr, way back in the day, starting in 2003, did this Flash animation series. And I guess at the time put it on Newgrounds. Was that right there really took me back, because I remember visiting that website quite a bit. Now, like I say, it's Flash animation, so what you want to call it, stiffer or more clunky or just not as fluid as actual animation. But it was an outlet for people to invoke their creativity, and you could see a lot of stuff up there for free. And I would see like other pieces of animation there. Never saw this, but there was, I'm like, someone had done a Ninja Turtles one called Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I think someone actually uploaded on YouTube, where Raphael's with Mighty and the Foot Clan attack, and they're fighting, and Leo comes in, and there's like, wow, this is a bit more violent. You have them killing. At one point, Raphael gets knocked out later on, and then there's Slash, like a version of Slash that Shredder's created, and they get into a fight, and because it's Newgrounds, people could use copyrighted music. The only issue is that sadly the guy never finished it, so there was no ending. Because I'm watching a couple episodes and then there's no end. I'm like, ah, man. And I say it is very no budget. I mean, again, it's, if you know what Flash animation is, then you know what it's going to look like. But with that said, this, you definitely see the development, because I think this went on from 2003 to 2007. And you actually see with each chapter how the animation progresses, and like the character designs get a bit improved, get more detailed. And this was fun. I guess at one point it had a DVD, but it's out of print. But I think the DVD, they had to change the copyrighted music so that you don't get sued. So it was actually nice to see it in this way, with all the copyrighted music intact. Because there'll be music from like Unbreakable and orchestral old school music like Mozart and various other stuff. Sadly, some of them only used at the end credits, like the song from Virtuosity, the Lords of Acid song, but that's only used to the end credits in one of the episodes. Would have been nice to hear that during an action scene. But again, there's frequent usage of copyright music, and that's kind of part of the fun appeal of it. And the story is very simple, very straightforward. You know, the first chapter, the Dead Sea, this little girl awaits on a beach. And even this first one, like the way the guy's doing the shadows to create a mood, and she sees these shadowed birds in this wasteland at night. She's all alone. She's on the beach. She doesn't know what to do. She enters the cemetery, and there's these zombies. And this figure comes out of the dark, and it's cutting their heads off, or cutting the top of their heads off, or cutting them in half. And it's this bald, kind of chiseled zombie that you tell by his face he's a bit decomposed, but he still keeps himself somewhat composed, named Dirge. With a very deep baritone voice. Jeff Edwards, I guess, is the guy who voiced it. I really liked his voice. He sounds like, there's this video game called Shadow Man. Back in the day, I remember playing a little bit. It sounds like him, or it's a very nice, deep baritone voice that fits a badass. And mostly covers, he carries a shovel, and he kicks the zombie's ass. The girl faints, and then part two, she awaits and finds out that this zombie, who still has conscious thought, took her to his hideout, and he's like, "Hey, I have a soft spot for endangered species." We get to know that the girl's name is Zoe. The zombie, he doesn't quite know how he became this way, but he has this dog that he has called Cerberus, a zombie dog. And pretty much it's going to be his task to get this girl back to her family. And throughout, like, you get some nice action scenes. They get in a car, they run over zombies. At one point, they drive off a cliff. They're in a circus, and our lead guy is killing all these zombie clowns. Even does a backflip and kicks the head off of one. There's like I think like a tiger, a zombie tiger. So we see the dog jump at it, but we don't see much of a fight. Because one of those things to take into account that, again, this was a flash animation done by probably one individual. 2003, 2004, 2005. So these parts, like each part's like 3, 4, 5 minutes long. And if you put them all together, you probably get a 90-minute or so. I don't know how long, but maybe less, probably less than that. I didn't really count it up, but I don't, maybe even just an hour. It was a fun time. I will say it was a fun time. You get to learn a little bit more about the environment and about not so much our lead character, but just that he injects himself with an embalming fluid, and how, even though he looks like a zombie, he's got a good heart to him. He starts to care for this little girl. The little girl that didn't make too annoying or irritating. There's even a part that they go to this museum and he fights like a zombie raptor. And Dirge has not only a shovel but this chain to fight it with. They meet this female zombie who's an Egyptian who becomes an ally. And there's a few bits where they introduce themselves. Like I said, the usage of music sometimes from Hellboy. Like at chapter 5, the exhibit, this is very nice, sweet music. I'm like, where's that music from? Oh, it's from Hellboy, the first one that Ron Perlman starred in. Oh, gee, that was cool. And at one point, there's these 3 robots that seem to know much more about Dirge and the Egyptian mummy lady, and you don't know quite how they know the zombies, like what's going on exactly. You get little hints in that, but I guess I think the guy did do a sequel eventually later on. But from what I understand, that one was more about the girl growing up and less about the zombie Dirge guy. Which, if that's the case, that's a shame, because he's the one I actually liked more of. Because he's definitely the star of this. And let's say each chapter is pretty much either coming up to an action scene or a little bit of dialogue introduction to get to our next plot point. So at one point, the raptor's not quite dead, is fighting the robots. They get out of there. They're chased by this flying ship. The next part, Dirge gets on the ship and is fighting the ship and uses his own weapons against it. That type of stuff. Like I said, I appreciate what the guy was able to accomplish, at least pretty much by himself. To do all this animation, using this flash. Some people say antiquated technology. But like I said, it's not going to be Pixar or any of that sort, of course. But like I said, there's a bit of nostalgia in a weird way for me. Because like I said, I do remember seeing these type of Newgrounds animation back in the day. And nowadays you can find them on YouTube. They've been reposted on that. I don't even know if Newgrounds is a thing anymore. I mean, I guess I could look real quick. Newgrounds. So it is. But I don't even know if anyone does anything on here, do they? I guess so, yeah. Because there's games you play, featured art, movies. Yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah, they're still doing it. People are still doing it. Letting their creativity fly. So, yeah, it's still a thing. It doesn't make me want to go back and kind of flip through these. They just. I mean, Flash just has a kind of unique look and movement, sort of independent film version of animation, in a way. Or I guess if you think like before YouTube, I would say the YouTube of animation would be that. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. I appreciate what James Farr was. It's you're not going for much of a deep story. It's really if you want to see a badass bald zombie guy kick a bunch of zombie ass with a shovel, sometimes with a chain, and just go for style and coolness. Like he's got a zombie dog. That lady by the end has this zombie raptor, and the good zombie with a heart of gold, and getting this girl to safety, and it's not a big cataclysmic action scene. Spoilers, did you spoilers? Getting to near the end, he does get the girl where she needs to go. There's a security system, defense, that if a zombie passes by, they get shot the hell up. The robots have come in. The Egyptian lady takes care of two of them, but then the third one messes her up. Our lead character is able to outwit the thing, use the other human security turret system to fuck up this robot. He's been shot pretty much in half. He falls down along with, because there's been so much firepower, the whole bridge falls down. But then kind of off screen he puts himself together. Would have been nice to see more of that on screen. Like I said, if there's little nitpicks and stuff, like I said, I wish some of the songs were used not for the end credits, but for the action scenes. Like there were some songs with Cellar Dweller, like Switchback, that was used more for the end credits of one of the episodes. I wish that was used within the actual episode during an action sequence. Same with that song Lords of Acid from Virtuosity. The little girl, you did a little bit of how she got there. She was on a boat. There was a helicopter. She tried to climb up. She fell. I did like the detail that as she's falling, you think the zombie shark or whale's going to swallow. I think it was a zombie shark going to swallow her, but because the zombie shark something ate it or cut it in half, so it swallows her, but then she falls through the other end as she's sinking down into the ocean. I thought that was, like, details like that were neat to see. It definitely leaves some questions of, well, how did she even get there in the first place on the boat by herself? And we never see any of the humans go out and see her, and that's the thing, like, he leaves the girl there, but I don't think we ever see any of the humans, so she could go in there and go, damn, there's nobody else here. It just, the computer system's on. Or, I'm trying to think, maybe at the very, very end? Maybe at the very end you see something? But if so, I apologize, but it seems so brief that, like I said, you don't really get to see them as characters. If the guy was, I mean, of course, if the guy had more time, if he had more of a budget and stuff, this was pretty much all done in his free time. which is very commendable to put all this work doing stuff in your free time. Yeah, it would have been nice to have the dog to actually see the fight it has with a tiger. Yes, it would have been nice to see near the end like a much more adversaries for the guy to fight and pick apart and smack and dismantle, and maybe a group of soldier zombies that its dirge screws up and fights in tits ass tits names like he's the Doom guy or something. But it's like, okay, I'm sure the guys say, here's my limitations, here's what I can do, so let him use his wit, let me use his smarts, his brains. They take out this one last boss. Makes sense. It would have been nice to see maybe a scene when he falls off the bridge. You maybe see him lying there, groggy, and then maybe the Egyptian lady's like, take my hand. Have a bit more of a smoother transition from there to now him and the girl are fixed up, or the zombie lady are fixed up. A little bit more smoother transition would have been nice to see. But those are little details, little nitpicks. Like I said, for a free Flash animation, commendable what the guy did, and it was fun. It was each time a part ended, I'm like, oh, I'm curious to see what's going to happen next. Granted, I just gave it away, so sorry about that. I did say spoilers. Granted, I'm a bit too late. But yeah, I had fun with this. I was entertained by this. I don't know what the full story behind this. I guess maybe he kept doing this and more people got noticed because I guess when he did the last one, there's a bunch of like thanks. And they're like, is that your producer? I'm like, well, where did he get all these people now? It seemed like it was just him by himself. But I guess as he went along, maybe more people helped him get this stuff out. Maybe. Thanks to Alex Kurtzman and Roberto Orsi. I'm like, what do they have to do with this? Were they fans? And like, again, I don't know what the full detail is. I don't know if there's any interviews with this guy or what, but James Farr. Like, commendable. Apparently the guy had tried to get some comic books out, and I guess he was working on the sequel. Like I said, the sequel was more about the girl growing up. I like the Dirge character. I like to see much more of him. Especially by the end, he's got like a new arm. So that's a lot more potential of what you could do. I did look at some like pictures. Like they changed up the animation. I don't know, like the Flash animation, weirdly enough, had kind of a novelty, entertaining novelty to it. Reminder of simpler times. And you don't need all the bells and whistles when the foundation is strong enough to have at least a good piece of escapism involved in this. So, yeah, nice voice works. Like, see, the voice work wasn't bad. You think, okay, it's Flash animation. Sound like, especially Jeff Edwards as Dirge and the lady who was the Egyptian mummy. I keep saying mummy, but Egyptian zombie lady. Very well preserved. They sounded professional enough, which was nice and surprising. Because you're expecting much more, like that Ninja Turtle one I mentioned earlier. Yeah, that's much more not professional. But this, yeah, very commendable. So I'd be curious to see how this all started, like how this all really came about, the details. But overall, nice job. Fun. I had fun with it. So, you want to see like a bit of a zombie action animation? As long as you know it's not going to be full tilt crazy, because again, this was mostly a free Flash animation that this guy was doing by himself for years. As long as you don't do it with those expectations, it's a fun time. With that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.